Final Fantasy VIII is my favourite Final Fantasy game, as you probably guessed from my name. The game's main character is Squall Leonhardt, a mercenary in a special combat unit known as Seed, who has to fight the Gobidian army and the dictator sorceress Adia. The relationship between Squall and the damsel in distress Rinoa is also a very key part of the story. The game was criticised for its radical change in playing style to any other Final Fantasy game. The fighting system is centred around your summons, which are called GFs in 8, and all magic is drawn from enemies instead of using magic points. Money is also not earned from defeating monsters, but from Squall's seed salary. What really makes Final Fantasy VIII so brilliant is the way the story is told. At times the party blacks out and goes into a dreamlike state, where you control Laguna Lori and his team in the past, which in turn tells you more about the present, and you can often see what the characters are thinking in dialogue scenes. It was also the first Final Fantasy to use realistically proportioned characters. So if you haven't played it, don't let the different playing style put you off. It's an awesome game.
"1997 saw the Sony PlayStation have its first Final Fantasy, Final Fantasy VII. It was the first game of the series to use 3D computer graphics and to use full motion video in order to progress its story. The game follows Cloud Strife and his fellow adventurers on their battle against the powerful corporation Shinra, which escalates to their battle to save the entire planet from destruction. The game played around with the formula of previous Final Fantasy games, this time taking place in a more futuristic world, unlike the previous worlds other Final Fantasies before it were set in. The game also featured one of the most shocking moments in gaming history with the death of the main character, Aerith Gainsborough, which, while not be something completely new to gaming, it still taught a generation of gamers to cry, including, and which I'm not ashamed to admit, me. The game itself looked fantastic for the time. The use of 3D rendered characters on 2D rendered backgrounds led to realistically scaled and impressive worlds, while the use of full 3D graphics and battles led to amazing spectacles with the use of summon spells and the grandness of some of the enemies in the game. The combat system in general ran along well, with the incorporation of orbs called materia, used to customize the character's access to magic and other beneficial abilities, and there was also the inclusion of limit breaks, similar to desperation moves in Final Fantasy VI, which were accessible after sustaining enough damage, leading you to unleash your power on either your enemy, or to use that power to aid your party. In true Final Fantasy style, this game excels in its overall storytelling and music, with an impressive soundtrack by Nobuo Uematsu, ranging from the delicate Eris theme to the booming One-Winged Angel. The only problem I have with Final Fantasy VII is that Square constantly cashes in with its success with heaps of spin-off material. But for me, all I care about is the game that started that all off, the classic 3-disc Final Fantasy VII. It does deserve being called one of the greatest games of all time.
Final Fantasy VI, one of the greatest games in the Final Fantasy series. It had great gameplay, great music, and overall excellent game. And here are the details on that.
Check this out, Pimpin'. You had just about everybody in the cast could use magic. Each person had their own unique abilities, such as Sabin's blitzes, you had Strago's lures, you had Edgar's tools, and everybody in the game was epic. The storyline was amazingly just epic, and
you go through about the first 20 hours of the game thinking Emperor Gestal is going to be the final boss, and then halfway through, in a twist, M. Night Shyamalan can't top, the little clown that follows around Kefka ends up destroying not only him, but the entire world. So the next 20 hours of the game, you're now fighting him, and he's not all emo about it. He's not, trying to become God. He's not a giant ball of water. He's just a bad person, and that makes him the most memorable villain of the Final Fantasy franchise.